Joining us from beautiful Northern California via Skype is best-selling author Michael Linenberger, author of the 1-Minute To-Do List and Total Workday Control using Microsoft Outlook. Let's jump right in. I guess one thing that I've always found very interesting with different time management systems was how you come up with them. I mean, I've followed a few of them, and your time management system, 1-Minute To-Do List, is very interesting. How did you come up with the idea?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like the need is the mother of invention, that kind of thing. I was in a corporate environment. I haven't been teaching time management that long. I was a vice president at Accenture, and before that, I was the CIO at U.S. Peace Corps. I've done a lot of different things, and in those roles, I just found that I needed some good time management. My team needed some good time management. And even though, for example, at Accenture, we were doing profound changes in companies and improving their processes so that their business processes were streamlined and very efficient. In spite of all those profound changes, I was finding that the staff at many of those companies after we got done were still buried in email, buried in out of control tasks. So I really saw the need in myself and in my own clients for a good system. And, I've taken every class there is out there, as many of us have, and I couldn't find one that really helped. I felt like the systems that were out there were very outdated. They didn't reflect the realities of today's work world. So I spent some time, maybe about a year, developing a system for myself and for my team. And I applied it first to Outlook, Microsoft Outlook, and I wrote a book about it, and it became the #1 best-selling book about Microsoft Outlook. So that took off in popularity. And then after that, I said, hey, I've got something here. And people started asking me to teach them, and I went full-time teaching. But yeah, it was just my own need. I needed a solution for myself. That's how I got started.
Wow, very interesting. So What would you say is one of the challenges or some of the challenges that someone that's just starting out with your system might run into?
Yeah, so I've got two systems really. One called the 1-Minute To-Do List, which is a very simple one. You can get started, really in a few minutes. And the other one is called MYN, which stands for Master Your Now, which is a more complete, and it really is more complex. So I think the problem is that people are so busy they can't even take the time to do a little bit of study. We all want some instant results, and you want to download an app that instantly solves everything for you. And these things, they take a little bit of study. You have to read a couple pages, 2 or 3 pages to get the concepts and put them into practice. It's not completely instant. So I think a lot of people are impatient and they don't want to wait and take a little extra study. But if you're willing to take a little extra study, 10 minutes or so, you really can get moving on these systems. And if you've got the other thing I think issue that people have is their inboxes are completely out of control, and sometimes that very first step of getting to the empty inbox, which is one of the things we teach, can be a little challenging, but we give you shortcuts to get you past that. So I think those are probably the two main barriers that people feel, but they shouldn't be barriers. You can get going right away.
Mm-hmm. And what would you say separates or differentiates 1-Minute To-Do List and Master Your Workday Now from other time management systems?
Yeah, I think they're really different. And the main thing is that MYN and even 1MTD, the two systems, those are the abbreviations for the two systems, they really recognize the fact that email is such an important part of our business life these days. Email is a complete and utter dominant factor now. And most time management systems were developed before that was true. And so that's what these systems give you. These systems give you a solution that recognizes that fact, that email is the dominant mode, not only of just general communication, but it's where nearly all your tasks come from now in the business world. People write you an email and say, hey, I need you to do this, this, and this. Or even if they give you a heads up, the details come in the email for the task that you need to do. And so if that's how this solution is different, it really incorporates email as a prime part of the overall task management system.
Well, I know myself I think that's where next to 90% or almost 95% of my workload comes from email. That sounds,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's true for almost everybody, and the older systems just haven't recognized that, or don't incorporate it as directly as my solutions do.
So, what would you say are some of the biggest lessons that you've learned using 1 minute to do or master your workday now?
Yeah, the lessons. I think some of the biggest lessons I've learned are the incredible volume of things that we get, the incredible number of requests for action that we get. That when you start to record them, for example, one of the key parts of both these systems is that when you get an email that's got an action for you to do and you can't do it now, you immediately copy it into the task system that we have. And what amazes me is how fast that list gets big, how incredibly fast we accumulate requests for action, and how it does take some thought and some management to decide, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to spend my valuable time on? And how do I really process that information that I know I'm not going to be doing right now, but that I do want to do later? And so over the years, I've really, me and the people that have worked with me on this system, we've really sort of evolved the system to be able to handle those high volumes of requests that we get. But that's the lesson, that the incredible volume of requests that we all get every day. And, all of us are trying to manage that in email, and that won't work. It will not work if you manage it in email. So the way we copy it into the task system and use the task system is fantastic. So that's probably the key thing.
Mm-hmm. And I know from reading some of your material and some of your articles that you actually can apply your system to a few different types of technology, from just using paper and pen, all the way through Outlook and even some other systems. What would you say is your favorite tool to use?
Well, I'm going to hedge that a little bit because it depends. For example, I use Outlook, and lots of people use Outlook, and Outlook has a great task system. Once you change it, once you modify it according to the principles of our system, it works great. So if you live in the Outlook world, as many business people do, then I think that's, the fact that the email and task system are so tightly connected in Outlook solves all kinds of problems with that flow that I just described, where you identify actions in your email and pass them into the task system. Now, that said, a lot of people do not use Windows Outlook. And if you don't, then my favorite tool is called ToodleDo. It's a task management software system that, I'm not associated with them in a third-party outside web-based system, but I love that system. And that's what I've taught people to use if they don't use Windows Outlook. And the cool thing about ToodleDo is that you can copy emails or move emails into the ToodleDo system no matter what email system you're using. So, you could be using Mac Mail, you could be using Gmail, you could be using some other Hotmail server, and you just forward it into a special address that you're given once you sign up for a ToodleDo account, and it goes right into your system. So it's really, that's one of the really cool things about ToodleDo. It's a very, very handy piece of software. I actually have switched back and forth between Outlook and ToodleDo because I like them both so much. So there you go. So I've got two.
Actually, I'm also a fan of ToodleDo because of their integration with so many apps.
Yeah.
So your system could actually tie in so many ways with so many different pieces of software. It's really quite flexible.
Yeah, I like the way it does it. It's really, there's a number of web-based programs out there, but I'm totally convinced ToodleDo is the way to go. So, yeah.
So, what would you say is the biggest takeaway that you'd like people to take from this interview?
Well, whether we get to it or not, let me just say a key concept, which is, I think, really important, which I think a lot of what we need to accomplish when we manage our tasks and our email and our time is, a lot of it is psychology. Because I think that, what people, when they say that they need task management or time management, they're feeling freaked out. They're feeling freaked out by all there is on their list. And, one of the things that I teach in my seminars about about a third of the way through the seminar, and I give day-long seminars and half-day seminars and things like that. But one of the things I say is, look, you're never going to get it all done. You are never going to get it all done. Not these days. Maybe in the old days you could make a list of everything anybody ever asked of you and get every one of those done, but we can't do that anymore. Just email alone, all the email requests that we get in these days, and all the nodes we're connected to and the network of people that we're connected to at work and outside of that. You're just going to get too many opportunities to do things for people, reactions, requests, things that you need to do, ideas that you have for yourself. You're never going to get it all done. And so in a way, it's a two-step process. One is putting a system in place that gives you the confidence that you can see and put your hands around, your arms around what it is that you feel is the most important things to do, that list that's most important, without losing track of the less important ones, because people hate to throw away those low priority things. They keep thinking, I'm someday going to get to those. So that's lesson one. And then lesson number two is realizing that, hey, it's okay if all I do get done is are the most important things. If I do leave some things on the table, it's not the end of the world. I can leave the office at 6 o'clock instead of 9:30 or 10 with some things left on the table, and it will not be the end of the world. So I think it really is two prongs. Both, once you get this system in place that clearly shows you what the most important things are, then you have that confidence. I think then the next step is to take advantage of that confidence that hopefully you gain, which is to walk away from it and leave the rest on the table. Because at least you're doing the most important things when you do that. And what you leave on the table, you can see. It's there on your list. You can see what you left on the table. And you don't feel like, I say this oftentimes, it's the tasks that you have partially forgotten that can be the most destructive ones to your psyche, because you just get this self-talk, which is, I'm out of control. I've got too much to do. I'm too far behind. I can't do it all. And that's the talk that's really destructive to your psychology. But if you can see it clearly in a list and you say, okay, I see these 5 things I can do and I'm going to do them. I see 10 or 15 I don't have time to do, but I can see they're not that bad. And when you can see them clearly all in one list, it's not as bad as you think. And that's what this system brings. It enables you to do that. And people tell me over and over again that their psychology improves dramatically, their sense of stress release, that their sense of stress decreases. They have a positive sense of stress relief. And so, I think that's what we want, right? We want that sense that, okay, I'm doing my most important things and I'm not overwhelmed by how much I have to do. And so that's what the system gives you.
What question have you never been asked that you're dying to ask?
Dying to have asked? Yeah. Well, I'm surprised because I've had interviews with lots and lots of, journals and magazines, and